locating disturbances, estimating grid state, studying synchronous islanded operation, monitoring power quality, devising experimental setup or applications for the monitoring of active distribution grids. Now, and hence we have to manage the information. The information management is being carried out through different steps. Large amount of data and information will be generated from metering, sensing and monitoring through different equipment and devices, and those will be passed to smart grid that needs advanced information management technique which handles data modeling, information analysis and integration and optimization. So all the data, they are being transmitted to the second level, and further we can say that the information analysis is needed to support the processing, interpretations and correlation of the flood of new grid observations. And finally, information integration aims at the merging of information from disparate sources with different conceptual, contextual and typographical representations. Now let us move to smart communication. It deals with the connectivity and information transmission among systems, devices and applications. Reliable and effective information exchange is a key to the success of the future smart grid. Basic functional requirements. Now we need to have quality of service of data, critical data. Example, grid status information must be delivered promptly. It has to have high reliability. Guaranteeing the reliability of such a large and heterogeneous network is not a trivial task. High availability and coverage. This is mandated by the principle that the smart grid can respond to any event in the grid in time. It must guarantee security and privacy. Smart communication. We can see one of the major smart communication is wireless communication. It has wireless, mesh network, cellular communications, cognitive radio, and all this wireless communication is quite important for successful operation of a smart grid. Now, when we talk about wired communication, they could be either fiber optic communications or it could be power line communications. So these two types of communications are being commonly used, and in case of wireless communication, that offers significant benefit over wire technology, such as low installation cost, rapid deployment, mobility, etc. can be achieved, but are also more suitable for remote applications. Now let us say that wireless communication is certainly an important infrastructure, but wireless communication has already been widely used in our daily life and can be deployed anywhere, anytime. So this is not a new technology, but we should take advantage of this existing wireless technology and incorporate within our energy grid to make it smarter. Wireless mesh network. It is a communication network made up of radio nodes organized in a mesh topology, has emerged as a key technology for next generation wireless networking. Now, what do you understand by cellular communication system? It is a radio network distributed over land areas called cells, each served by at least one fixed location, transceivers known as cell site or base station. It has proven mature technology for data transmission for several decades. Now, let us discuss cognitive radio. This has been proposed for smart grid based on IEEE 802.22 standard. It is used as secondary radio to handle high volumes of non-critical data and also act as backup radios in emerging or emergency situations. Wired communication, certainly it is fiber optic communication. It has been used by large power companies to connect their generation network with their network control facilities. Furthermore, its electromagnetic and radio interface immunity make fiber optic communication ideal for high voltage operating environment. It has high bandwidth capacity and immunity characteristics. Although it is well known that the installment cost of optical fibers may be expensive, fiber optic network is still a cost-effective communication infrastructure for high-speed communication network, which is the backbone of the future smart grid. I mean, you must have listened to my past lectures. All the time it has been told that your existing grid will be made smarter by a communication establishment through two-way transformation, information transformation in any form. So that means the information can be exchanged only through a better communication media, and we understand that the fiber optic communication can certainly be an asset for the future smart grid technology. Now, we perhaps, along with fiber optics, we do use power line communications, which is a very old technology. Power line communication, that is PLC, is a technology for carrying data on a conductor, also used for electric power transmission. In the last decade, utility companies around the world have been using PLC for remote metering and load control applications. Technically, in PLC, power electronics are used to manipulate high voltage waveforms for signal and information-oriented applications. So even though it is being a wired communication technology, but first narrowband PLC is well suited for smart metering infrastructure. Very important, dear listeners. Smart metering infrastructure is well suited for the wired communication based on PLC, and certainly we look forward to a huge PLC infrastructure for our future smart grids. One more important point, the second one, is PLC enables the communications between electric vehicles and power grid via power line without introducing other wired or wireless equipments. Third, broadband PLC can provide the service of transferring data seamlessly from smart grid controller to home networks and vice versa. Now, the smart communication in a smart grid, let's see, this is the utility company and the consumers through wide area networks. It could be BPL, could be fiber optic, could be wireless network, And then we do have the field area networks for my smart meters, and the smart meters can be installed in my power lines. This is my distribution lines, and the whole utility can connect to my home, shop, and factory through smart meter data using field area networks as well as wide area network. So that means the communication between the users and the source can use communication as a platform for their interaction to make the grid smarter. Smart management is mainly to increase the efficiency of energy, operation cost reduction, demand and supply balance, emission control, utility maximization, and one more component is your smart protection to achieve system reliability, failure protection mechanism, mainly to failure prediction and prevention, failure identification, diagnosis and recovery, microgrid protection, security and privacy. Security and privacy is also equally important in smart infrastructures. Information metering and measurement, privacy in smart metering, security in monitoring and measurement. Smart protection system achieves system reliability, that is, ability of a component or system to perform required functions under stated conditions for a stated period of time. Local power generation can reduce the likelihood of cascading failures. An ideal mix of the smart grid resources like renewable, demand response, and storage lead to flatter net demand and eventually increase system reliability. Failure protection mechanism, that is prediction and prevention, predicting the weak points of the region of stability existent in its energy subsystem. Some researchers proposed to utilize PMU data to compute the region of stability existence and operational margins. Major blackouts can be prevented by proper predictions. Failure protection mechanism, locating and identifying the failure to avoid cascading events. Due to the wide deployment of PMUs, the phaser information used for line outage detection and network parameter error identification. Self-healing can be effective if power grid is divided into small sections. During post-fault, decision-making abilities should be distributed to the substation and or field device for immediate action. Then we have different schemes of protection. We have microgrid protection, that is protection of microgrid, especially when it is islanded, is quite challenging. The first and foremost challenge is to detect the islanding of the microgrid. The second important challenge is how to provide segments of the microgrid with sufficient coordinated fault protection while operating as an island separated from the utility, which is one of the very, very important during fault condition, how we can operate the grid in an islanded mode. Cyber security is regarded as one of the biggest challenges in smart grid. Vulnerability may allow an attacker to penetrate a system, obtain user privacy, gain access to control software, and later load conditions to destabilize the grid in unpredictable way. The smart grid, though it seems to be the future, we have to incorporate robust cyber security mechanism to make your grid safer. Smart meters are extremely attractive targets for malicious hackers since vulnerability can easily be monetized. Wide deployment of monitoring and measurement devices could also lead to system vulnerability. The major challenges in smart protection system is especially in specific interoperability between cryptographic systems, conflict between privacy, preservation and information accessibility, impact of increased system complexity and expanded communication paths, impact of increasing energy consumption and asset utilization, complicated decision-making process. And with this background, now researchers establish few standards to establish your smart grid infrastructure. And let us now discuss some of the very, very important IEEE standards. We do have the first one, which is very important, that is IEEE 1547 Interconnection Standards. IEEE 1547 in 2003 takes care of interconnecting distributed sources with electric power system. What are the standards that need to be maintained for interconnecting distributed energy resources with any existing power systems? Next one is IEEE standard 1547 version 1 in 2005. It deals with equipment interconnecting distributed resources with electric power system. Then we move to the second version 1547 IEEE standard in 2008 that talks about application guide for IEEE standard 1547, IEEE standard for interconnecting distributed resources with electric power systems. The third version in 2007 monitoring, information exchange and control of distributed resources interconnected with electric power system. Then we had fourth version in 2011, design, operation and integration of distributed resources island systems with electric power system. IEEE 2030 interoperability standards, IEEE 2030 guide for smart grid interoperability of energy technology and information technology, operation with electric power system and end-use applications and loads. IEEE 2030 version 1 guide for the electric sourced transportation infrastructure. IEEE 2032 guide for the interoperability of energy storage integrated with electric power infrastructure. But though the IEEE standards suggest recommendations for smart grid development with different standards, there are few barriers for smart grid technologies too. One of the major barrier, the huge amount of investment and lack of financial resources, because we need to really invest too much to make your grid smarter. Market uncertainty, we do not know how the market is moving. Lack of regulatory frameworks, none of the very strong established framework is in place today. Low public awareness and engagement. For example, the day-to-day public life, they are not mature enough to understand, are they operating at the peak hour or the off-peak hour, how they can contribute to green energy, how they can reduce the energy demand during peak hours. So for all these concerns, we need to have extremely awareness programs, first of all, to educate all the public, those use energy in a regular basis. Lack of innovativeness in the industry. Industry has to be more innovative. Lack of infrastructure, technology immaturity, integration of the grid with large-scale renewable generation. That's the biggest challenge when we put a lot of renewable energy sources in the existing system, which has not been designed to incorporate excess renewable energy. We have to have grid challenges. Need of advanced bidirectional communication system, cyber security, and data privacy. Very, very important. Dear listeners, we end with our introduction lecture 2, and when we meet next class, we'll get into details of smart grid modeling and technical aspects of smart grid. Thank you.